All right. Hey, we are live on Facebook. Good morning, everyone. We are live, and I don't see you anymore, Will.
I see you. Can you see me?
You see me? I can't. There you go. Okay, so we're live, and we are going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I'm actually zooming this live to my personal page. Oh, you hear the delay?
I can't hear. Is there like a?
Hold on.
I can't. Oh, I can't see it. That's why you can see it. I can't.
All right, hold on. Okay, perfect. We're back. We're ready. You ready now?
I'm ready.
Okay, sorry about that. So it looks like Zoom apparently made some changes. Y'all know Zoom had to get in on this pandemic. And so there were some changes to their settings. So instead of this going live on my Habits and Lifestyles page, Morning Coffee, it's on my my name, Chisa Mendez page. And that's okay because I'm going to record it and I'll send it out to everyone. So I apologize about that. And that just changed recently because my last Morning Coffees, it was still the other way. And then they put a new feature in there. And I don't want to log out and log back in. So we're just going to go ahead and keep this rolling and move forward. So today I am joined. I have a special guest. His name is Will. And he is here on Morning Coffee today. He's giving us his Clark Kent vibes. He is ready. He has his coffee cup. You want to share that with us? Share more.
Oh yes, my coffee cup. This is my coffee cup today.
Today's good mood is inspired by THC. So it's a good day to have a good day and a good mood. Okay. I have mine. I got my same little coffee cup that I had for my birthday. It's my little Aquarius cup.
Oh, you Aquarius. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you sipping your tea like you know something, your coffee like you know something I don't know. But you do know when we had that conversation about Megan and Marvin, you know they both Aquariuses, and Marvin and him and I have the same birthday. It's that balance. It's out there. They both Aquariuses. But so here we go. Yeah, so I just left his platform, which was, tell me, inhale, exhale.
Inhale and stretch.
Inhale and stretch. I apologize. It's inhale and stretch. And it was such a blast. It was over at Instagram. So you have to check him out. What's your Instagram handle?
So my Instagram handle is grindngrowchicago. That's the letter N instead of AND. It's grindngrowchicago, which is a health and wellness brand. We just recently launched our classes that we will be having in collaboration with Soul Wellness, which is a medical marijuana education center. And then also I'll be doing some digital classes coming up pretty soon, so that way I'll be able to facilitate more virtual spaces. But it's just a health and wellness brand of me just doing the same thing you're doing, which is like, how do I build a lifestyle out of the life that I desire to live?
Absolutely. And so he said it's grind in the letter N Grow Chicago. I'm going to put all of his handles in like my links so that way you can go and start following him. I had a great time. I'm not big on stretching. However, I know the value of stretching. So I am very grateful that Will pushed me to that because it's making me want it, I'm going to do it moving forward because I feel better. I did my upper body and it actually feels a lot looser and more flexible. So I would suggest that you guys follow him and participate when he goes lives on his Grind and Grow and for his inhale and stretch. What days do you do your inhale and stretch and what time?
Inhale and stretch is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 7:50 CST. And we go to 8:30 CST. So it's literally just a 30-minute stretch class. We do a couple of bit of talking at the beginning just to kind of connect to the community. But it's just basically just a virtual community of accountability for getting up and doing something just like you're journaling. It's like some of us can have so disciplined like you to get up and do it all the time. For some of us, we got to go to a class to be like, hey, did you bring your journal today? Oh yeah, I brought my journal. So it's just a virtual accountability.
Yeah. And it was great. It's a great way to start your mornings, guys. So definitely get over there and join him and check that out. All right. So as we go into this, I introduced Will by his name. You guys have his IG handle, a little bit, a little bit more about Inhale and Stretch, but there's so much more to him. And I'm going to give him this opportunity for him to share his own bio and who he is as a person with you all, because no one knows Will like Will. And that's what he's going to do. And then when he's done with that, he's going to tell us what healthy, healed, and whole means to him. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So yeah, my name is Will. I have 15 years of experience teaching. I started teaching. I was kind of like grew up. See, this I feel like you're gonna come at me a little bit. I'm gonna tell you a little because every time I tell you about my life, it comes. But so I kind of started dancing. Like I started basically with like dance because you grow up Black and you can't come to the cookout without knowing how to dance, as well as like dancing in the church. So my earliest things was like dance and music. And then from there, I got into circus. And then from there, I got into gymnastics. And then while doing circus and gymnastics, I was doing capoeira the entire time. So I've been in and around those spaces for the last like 10 years, just circus, gymnastics, and capoeira. And now, which then has led me to kind of cultivate my own brand of just like, okay, how do I hold myself accountable for moving? Because if I don't move, I feel very sad and depressed.
Absolutely.
So and so that kind of has also been during that time period of studying the movement. I've been in school for a while, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna study sociology, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna study psychology, and I was like, oh no, maybe philosophy, and then I finally got some help from the mentor that was like, I feel like you should just go into anthropology, and I was like, okay, this feels right. So that was like 7 years of just studying social sciences, while at the same time studying something like capoeira, which is like I feel like it's a physical embodiment of like Black history of like Brazil, because like it's really cool to like compare, like we talk about like Harriet Tubman and like what she's done, and then but then like Brazil, you hear about somebody like Zumbi Palmares, which like it was a brother who like not only escaped from slavery, but then at the same time like created a quilombo that almost lasted a century. So like that all of that over the course of like 10 to 15 years was just kind of like my life. And it was literally just because it was a journey of I was studying people to understand myself, because I think majority of people who are in social sciences, we observe people, we don't get why they are or do the things that they do. And so it's just been kind of this long journey of like, where can I go where like all aspects and intersectionalities of me can exist simultaneously. And so now I'm learning how to cultivate that space.
That's awesome. It's great to hear that you took something that you were passionate about and you loved, and now you're making a career out of it and sharing it with the world. There is a lot of benefits in dance and movement and music. It's healing and it's fun, right? So it's one way, like you said, for people to move their bodies without even realizing that they're moving their bodies. I'm a huge advocate of moving your body for at least 30 minutes a day. That's why you have a body. I mean, like, you should move it if you're capable. You should. It shouldn't just be laying on the couch, or, I mean, after you do your 30 minutes, you can do what you want to do. Don't judge me after that. But I feel like you should be moving your body, So that's great. All right. Anything else you want to add?
I don't know. I see this is weird being on the other side of this. I mean, no, I mean, like, yeah, I think honestly, a lot of the work that I really kind of want to do is just I kind of really want to integrate, or not kind of, I'm integrating basically spaces that kind of, in some shape, form, or fashion, kind of are about dismantling white supremacy in a physical sense. Because I think for instance, there are very tall brothers that I know, like I'm 6 foot, and I'm like 260. So I understand I have a presence. And there's other brothers that I know that are kind of similarly tall or like whatever. And I noticed that a lot of us kind of like walk with our shoulders forward, hunched over, which when you think about it from like a cultural perspective, it's like, how are Black male bodies regulated socially? And so when you have an 8-year-old that looks like 12, right? Like there's these like normalities that come out where it's like, you're too big to act like that. You're too big to do this. You're too big to do that. And it was even funny for me because like my size had a negative connotation until I got into physical, like into circus and gymnastics and stuff like that. So I realized that a lot, just as much as like Black women's bodies are like overly sexualized and stuff like that, like we realize that all of these aspects kind of come for like
Yeah.
this white supremacy culture, as well as
Mhm.
like even when we talk about professionalism,
Yeah.
it's always like who defines professionalism? White people. Why? Because they created professionalism, and so who normally has to bear the brunt of that, what that is, like, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it's marginalized groups of people. So a lot of the work that I also want to do is to apply like the perspectives I learned through anthropology or social sciences, which is basically just like how do we decolonize our bodies so that
Yeah.
we can decolonize our systems? Because if we're working 8 hours a day, 5 times a week, disassociating just to get the paycheck, then
Yeah.
like what is the psychological and physical effects of that? And so
Yeah.
like I want to be able to hopefully have work that allows people to visualize, conceptualize, and be like, oh, okay, like being present is important for me because if I'm not present for myself, then like, am I really making choices to move my life
Absolutely.
in my own way, or am I just chasing the bag?
Absolutely. I think that's amazing because you mentioned for women, we do have more conversations around that because we have a lot of women who are in health and healing and wholeness. And I feel like not as many men, but I may be wrong. It's just maybe because I'm not looking for those men and so I don't see them, but I don't hear about it a lot. There are more men now that are saying that, but like you said, you're thinking about other brothers, but a lot of times when men are into the health and health, wholeness and healing, they're talking to women. But
Mhm.
in this instance, you're saying, hey, what about these men and what about these young boys? Because you're absolutely right. I have two boys and I have a daughter, and that's what it was like with my oldest son. Everybody would just always assume something because he was such a big kid, or when he would out talk his teachers because he could, they would say he was being aggressive or arrogant or something like that instead of assertive. So I completely understand that. So I
No,
like that.
I'm sorry, real quick. Is it like is and I'm assuming your son is intelligent too, right?
Hmm.
So the reason I highlight intersectionalities is because like as like I was a kid that was always labeled difficult because if it
Yeah,
was like if my size wasn't the highlighting issue,
it
it
was your.
was like I was a critical thinking kid. And
Hmm.
so I would naturally challenge status quo, not to challenge for the sake of challenge, but challenge for the sake of is there a more efficient perspective that
Right.
is inclusive? Because like, my mother would always be like, the Bible say honor your parents. And I'd be like, but it also says don't drive your children to wrath, which I'm
Absolutely.
assuming is about balancing relationships. But
Right.
but that small little, I mean, when you hear that coming from an 8, 12-year-old, it especially in like certain spaces, it sounds like disrespect, but it's not disrespect. It's just saying like, why can't we have a relationship where
Right.
my word and trust is just as important as the trust in the words that you want. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's
Absolutely.
yeah, though
Right.
that's something that is like close to me, where it's like I want to be able to facilitate spaces where it's like you can be black and intelligent, you can be
Absolutely.
large, you could be whatever honorific you want to add to yourself, but like we see you, we understand like the dimensions of the complexities of who you are,
Hmm.
because it's your differences that add to our community. It's that instead of like the lack of your conformity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's great that you said that. So it's like it sounds like you're saying culturally it's a thing because you don't really talk back to your parents in certain cultures, our culture. But then
Mhm.
you also have the systematic side of it, like where you're going to be in school and you're going to be labeled and you're going to be what do you call it, suspended and all those things. So
Mhm.
it's a thing, but I like that you're saying that, hey, if you're going to do the 9 to 5 for whatever reason, whether you want to retire at 60 in it or you just using it as a means to get to the next level, whatever the goal is, you still have to be true and honor yourself, because I don't think that people realize the drain, how draining it is to assimilate or to code switch or whatever you want to call it. It is a lot of draining and you can't even explain it, because I know sometimes people will say, oh yeah, I have to do that too, and I'm like, yeah, but no, it's not the same. Like you just really cannot imagine the difference. Like you just cannot imagine. So
Because it's anxiety. Like I know for me, like a lot of my anxiety came from just being very aware of culture. Like culture to me is like water. I
mhm,
know the difference when I step into hot water, when I step into cold water, if I step into
mhm,
lukewarm. Like I'm aware of the changes, and this
yeah,
because I study social sciences, microaggressions scream at me.
mhm,
So there are moments where, like, if I'm sitting at Trader Joe's and a white woman is like, it's raining and a white woman wants to get in line in front of me because she's like a senior citizen, which is totally okay. but like to not look at me and say, excuse me, it's raining and I don't
Mhm.
want to like go to the back of the line because I will get tired. Do you mind if
Right.
I go? Like that simple sense of acknowledgement of my body and presence,
Yeah.
but to feel like I can just step in front of you because you're supposed to know,
Yeah.
like those are two different connotations. And one expects me to be understanding of someone's presence and what they are desiring, where the other one
Yeah.
is like, no, I am a human being. I
Yeah.
understand what you want, but you must ask and be respectful. Even though you are older than me, you must also respect the fact that I've been standing here in line waiting to go to the same place that you have. And
Right.
so it gets you
It's
yeah, a lot of
it's tiring.
processing. It's a lot of processing, which again, how does that affect us after 10, 20, 30 years? Because you're not going to tell me that mental health in the Black community didn't start with colonialization. So
Absolutely. So it's very tiring. You're right. And so we have to have spaces where we pour into ourselves. And, but again, I know that you're not catering to men only. I know you
mhm.
cater to everyone, but I am very happy to hear that you mentioned that because I feel like men don't have that space, that same, they don't have that same opportunity. Well, they have the same opportunity. But I feel like they don't feel comfortable enough to say, I need this. I'm stressed. I don't know what to do. I'm tired. I need a hug. Like I know dudes don't be hugging each other, but hugs be solving stuff. Shoot. Sometimes we just need
Well,
a hug.
we say it, but people look at us weird.
You want a
Cause
hug?
like I'm one of those dudes. I'd be like, man, I mean, I got homies where I'd be like, I need a hug, and I can get a hug. But like, there are people where it's kind of like, if you do say though, like I've lost jobs just because of the fact that I've been like, I'm not saying no to this procedure. I'm saying that my mental health
Yeah.
requires me to put distance between what you're asking me for
Hmm.
and then the job is just kind of like, well, I think it's just best for us to go our separate ways. And it's like because
Right.
I'm letting you know that
Right.
my mind will react in a negative way if you put me in this context.
Yeah.
You see me as being difficult,
Yeah.
and so that's why I see. I'm sorry. I'll talk about this because I live it, I experience it, which is why I'm trying to be the change about it. It is,
Yeah.
so. But I do want to get to your questions. I haven't been.
I know. Okay. Well, good. We know this is a good intro. So, what does the word healthy means to you, healed and whole? Go ahead and let us know.
So healthy to me, I think is a state of balance. So I kind of, when I think about healthy, I kind of think about like homeostasis, which is like, because again, like from the perspective of being intersectional, right? Like my intellect can be healthy, but my mental health can be not healthy, right?
Right.
That my physicality can be strong, but like my nutritional health may not be on point. So for me, it's kind
Absolutely.
of like healthy is just kind of it's creating a center of balance that allows you to, I guess, be more malleable to the context that you are exposed to,
Okay.
right? Because I think like especially like in the world where we're in a pandemic, I think that it's one of those things where it's kind of like if you have a strong, if your immune system is more malleable to pathogens, we call that immunity, right? Because your
Mhm.
immune system has a higher chance of acknowledging and repelling a foreign entity. So when I think of something healthy, I think it is like being aware and acknowledgeable of all the tools that you have, allowing those tools, because sometimes you'll have a tool that is technically stronger than the others, but then sometimes you learn if I can take that one tool and apply it to this other tool, I can level that up. So healthy for me is just kind of a state of balance. It's like acknowledging your strengths, acknowledging your weaknesses, being in spaces that allow you to acknowledge them because they don't all exist, and just being able to work daily towards a goal because it's not easy and like I know for some of us we're super self-disciplined and we can do it on our own, but for some of us being healthy is being a part of a community because
Yeah.
if you don't have that like accountability then your context can overwhelm you. So I think it's just a balance between the internal, the external, or like the mind, the body, and what it all ultimately comes to be your self-expression.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, what does the word healed mean to you?
I think healed would be the step in which you are at a point where you can acknowledge real time. Because I don't want to say like healing is like, oh, you're perfect now. Like I think healing is where, and I'll speak from like my own personal perspective. I think like so there I understand that like I have issues of mental health. And so there are moments in my life, even recently, where I have to go, oh, I was triggered, and my trigger transformed the reality into something that was it created an illusion of a threat where there was no threat to be found. And
Exactly.
so for me being healed is being in a state where you can acknowledge, like, okay, I still may have some scars, I still may have some weaknesses, but I'm able to identify those weaknesses. I'm able to acknowledge those weaknesses. I'm able to communicate with the people around me, like so for instance, I don't emote, I process. So when I go to someone and talk to them about how I'm feeling, it's not a certainty, it's an expression of how I'm feeling, because there are times when my feelings are not valid.
Mhm.
And I gotta be like, okay, that's not a valid feeling, that's a personal issue. I gotta reevaluate. And then there are times when it's like, oh no, that is true. I didn't have, it's just communication. And so I think healed is just being able to acknowledge your weaknesses, acknowledge your limits, but then also being able to actively take steps to keep yourself in alignment with those aspects.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. And then lastly, what does the word whole mean to you?
I think whole is just the acceptance of your light and your darkness in a balanced state.
Mm.
And when I say light and darkness, I know it has like these Christian connotations of like good and evil, but I don't think that that's not my perspective of light and dark. My perspective is there is there like, especially like as entrepreneurs and people who have brands, like there's the part of us the world sees,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the part of us the world does not see.
Mm-hmm.
There's the part of us that we express, and then there's the part of us that stays internal. I think to be whole is to understand, and because I feel like we're like my concept is just kind of like it's leading that way, where it's like when you're able to acknowledge both sides of the spectrum
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledge, okay, there are times when my light needs to take charge because I need this outcome that is in alignment with my light. But then there are moments where, like, look, I'm gonna be real. Like sometimes my darkness is the side I got to lean on. Now that does not mean that I go full blast, like, dark. It just means that at the core of my action is, because I think the darkness is about self, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about, because you're constantly evolving, you're constantly changing, you're kind of like darkness is vague. If you look at space, it's like this vague place because you can't really conceptualize all that it is, because what you see and don't see makes it what it is also. But I think the whole is understanding that you need to like understanding yourself, your concepts, and then being able to be in alignment, like move in alignment with the fact of like there are times when like it's kind of like there are times when you got to send per my last email because you like, I said it. I'm
Yeah.
being very nice, but I told you this already.
Yeah.
And then there are times when you just got to be like, no, I just genuinely appreciate this. Like there, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what being whole is. Whole is just understanding your spectrum.
Yeah.
And being present in a moment enough to know what part of your spectrum is in alignment or needs to be present in that moment to keep you aligned with your destination.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. I heard a lot of balance talk in there. And since you referenced the Bible earlier, some people don't like it because they say it's contradictory. But I feel like that's what the Bible is. It's the cheat code to life. Like sometimes it's like turn the other cheek. Sometimes it's like it's an eye for eye. Like, you know what I mean? It depends on the situation. Exactly what you said. What do you need in that
It's
moment?
funny because like, well, see, I was raised Christian, but I'm not Christian.
Right.
And so it's really interesting because people will be like, why do you know that much about, like, why do you know things from the Bible? It's like, because I had to read it.
You had to read it. Yeah.
But I think so I'm not here to like advocate for one belief over the other. I think that the whole point is just like, once upon a time, somebody was like, we could be better.
Mm-hmm.
And then the governments were like, kill them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And look at our world now. It's like, people are just trying to be better and the government is the struggle. And so I think that, yeah, it's literally just like, this is how you be better, y'all. Like, you don't take it literally, just apply it within the context of, if you don't like it when somebody hits you, maybe you shouldn't hit people because you wouldn't want them to do that. Like, balance.
Right. Like it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I think you're right. You just got to know what that's like the key is knowing when to do what, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you learn through experience, like, oh, that's how I should move when this type of, you know what I mean? Like you just learn. So you learn when to do what, depending on what's happening. So I like that. You
I
did
will
good.
say it's difficult. I will say that it's a difficult process.
It is.
Like, as a person who spent a lot of my life like depersonalized, like if you do not have the space to fail, if everything is life or death, you can't learn.
Absolutely.
And so I think that it's very important that we create spaces, even as a nation. I think it's very important to be like, yo, let people go and chase their businesses, because the more people are in alignment with what they're doing most of the time, then there's a ripple effect. It's kind of like if your cells are healthy, your tissues are healthy. If your tissues are healthy, your organs are healthy. If your organs healthy, you're healthy. Right? There's a ripple, and I think that a lot of people don't think about that. But yeah, I do know that process is difficult, and it requires space, attention, time, and effort in order to get to a higher plane of self.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's about just matching people with what's good for them, not even whether that's through entrepreneurship or whatever it is, it's matching people with their gifts. That's what it boils down to. Because like you said, then you'll have a greater employee, employer, or person that you partner with, however you're linking up with people, because there's people in this world and we are going to mingle at some point. If people are moving in their talent, gift, whatever you want to call it, then of course you're going to have a better outcome, because that's their thing, right? Like that's what they do. So it makes a lot of sense. So thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate you. We have 4 minutes left. Is there anything you want to add?
If anyone is interested in the work that I do, follow again on grindngrowchicago. I literally just started our Facebook business page, so that you can also follow us there, grindngrowchicago. And I'm working on our YouTube. Our YouTube exists. It is just, entrepreneurship, y'all, it is a process. It is a self-growing process. But I have a YouTube, I have a Facebook now, but primarily I'm on Instagram, all at grindngrowchicago. So check us out. I'll be doing, if you need a community of support, like I thrive in community. So I got classes and stuff coming too. So just be on the lookout for my work if you want. And then be on the lookout for Chisa coming back and Jabberwocking with us.
I'm going to learn. I just sent him a clip of where I'm trying to be. So he got work to do. If he can transform me, y'all, there you go. Your business is about to shoot. Going from 0, taking me to 10. Because I was like, oh, you want to teach me how to dance? This is what I want to do.
Look, you're going to be one of my testimonies where it's be like, before I did Will's class, I couldn't dance. But now I can Jabberwocky, like I can really rock like on any block. Like,
thank you. Show me some stuff. I guess the secret is I didn't go to enough cookouts as a kid. Since you were like, you can't go to the cookout without dancing.
Look, trauma is real, and we have to address it as a nation.
Well, trauma is I didn't learn how to dance. I have no excuse, no reasons, but I just didn't pick it up. So here we go. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you so much, Cheese, for having me on.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.